folks, and welcome to another day in the Milky Way. And tonight we got a great show for you with our special guest, Trina Phoenix, tonight, joining me and Dalibor. Thank you for being here. We're going to review this great book that Trina turned me on to, and I tell you what, it's really made me think, and then we're going to bring it all to you tonight. Thank you for being with us, Trina.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for just everything. And thank you, Soul Tribe. And Dalibor, too.
Pleasure to be here.
Great. We got, let's see. So everybody, we got this. Wait a minute. I got to get this thing up. I got a second here. But anyway, we got this book here. This is the book we're going to do. And Trina, you talked this book up quite a bit. It made me really say to myself, I got to go and get this book.
I'm glad. I'm so glad.
It was well worth it. I tell you, it wasn't much. It wasn't a thick book. It's definitely really been a good read. Really a small, thin book. What was there? Like 100 and some pages in it. So maybe 100.
Only like 82 or something. I think it's very 82. Small. Yeah.
Yeah, you read through it in a day.
Easy.
You don't have time. So I suggest everybody, if you got the chance, go out and get this and read it and then pass it along to other people, because that's the thing to do. Anyway.
Yeah, it's one of those little books that's like a gem. It's got so many important things in it for you to contemplate, think about, to connect to a higher part of yourself. He references the oversoul, which is really a cool term. A lot of people aren't really even that familiar with. So yeah, the concepts and just the quotes from history. It's like a lot of people knew these things a long time ago, and he brought a lot of these important quotes out too, which is fabulous. And he also breaks down like a step-by-step process to how to create and how to manifest in this world. And a lot of people are looking for that. And you know how like The Secret and certain things like that usually, focus on what you want, see it happening, feel grateful, call it a day. He's got more processes in his processes, which I know are really true. So yeah, there's 5 core, but 7 total. And it's a really cool map to, okay, this is how you manifest in the world. And these are the steps. If you do these things and you do this long enough, somehow, some way, the universe will manifest it and it will happen.
I picked out one paragraph, a small one, that I think really hooked me and really suits the whole book. It's on page 16. It says, learning forces us to undergo an intellectual transformation. And this is what makes the student open to all types of knowledge, but dangerous to the establishment. And that was my hook. Our thoughts lay the foundations to future conditions. Knowledge acquired changes us in subtle ways. And I thought, and then it goes down and it says, little learning is a dangerous thing. And I said, boy, I got to read the rest of this book.
Yeah, that's me. It's so funny. I was taking notes too and pulling out some of the things that I really loved. And it was funny. The first one I went to was on page 18. And then what it says, do not expect God to do for us what he can only do through us. And that was Thomas Troward, 1909. And then after that, he has a quote from Ernest Holmes. Expectation is a force. Expect the best to happen. One who has learned to trust will not be surprised, even when he finds things coming from the most unexpected sources. Ernest Holmes, 1919.
Yeah, absolutely. My book is filled with underlined highlighted. I got my highlighter. I highlight stuff as I read, and then
I think Ernest Holmes was one of the most influential writers on this topic of the 20th century. I mean,
Yeah.
especially his book Science of Mind. As a matter of fact, that spawned a whole spin-off movement that was really popular well into the 1930s. They put out a monthly magazine and everything, and it was like a pretty big movement. Yeah, the Science of Mind. Hi,
Mhm.
Mexican.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I'll tell you, he's got so many little jewels in here. And then, like, he goes through different concepts. And I love this one too. I am more than I suppose myself to be. And perhaps all those perfections which I attribute to God are in some way potentially in me. Rene Descartes. Yeah. And then, then it goes to the biblical phrases too. According to your faith, be it unto you. Matthew 9:29. Thy faith has made me whole. Matthew 9:20 through 22. Yeah. So it's this conceptualization of learning that God's not doing it. God can only do it through us. So the miracles and the manifestations, it's like you really have to have a cooperative relationship with this unseen substance that's controlling the whole world that we're existing in, and that connection to that, and how to get that connection. And the biggest way to do that is through your thoughts and your mental construct, because that's how you reach the larger construct and literally manifest from it and through it. But it doesn't come to you as much as it comes through you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Hi,
It's all-
Teresa.
Hey, Teresa. Hey, Lori.
we got a lot of people
Mm.
tonight. They're all listening. That's good. That's good. This guy copied other people, and put their quotes in here, which are great. But it's the stuff he's saying too. Like the beginning here, I know who I am, and I understand my place as a journey through this little corner of existence. And I think that's a big problem. People don't know who they are.
Right.
I was listening to Courtney and Lucky the other day on their esoteric tea, and they were talking about the non-person, that the what do you call it, the NPS or
NPC.
NPC.
Yeah.
And you know what? I thought about that all night, and I dreamed about that. How weird. I dreamed about that.
Mm-hmm.
And when I woke up, I realized that, yeah, the NPCs aren't just, they're us. Okay, so for about, thousands of years, there was only 2 billion people on the earth. And all of a sudden now we got 8 billion people on the earth, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, well, I read in Journey of the Souls. I don't know if you read that book. Wayne put it on his show, Journey of Souls, and I read all the books that guy put out. And he was talking about how, a soul could, split itself into 2 or maybe 3 or 4 pieces and become more to experience more life, right? But each time it's split, that life would be weaker because you don't have 100% of your power there. So if you went down as just 1, because part of you stays on the other side, and if you go down as 1, you got a lot of power. You're going to do great things. If you split into 2, yeah, it's so. You can do that. 3, a little weaker. 4, a little weaker. 5. And I'm thinking, because if there's just so many to go around, each one would split. And now all of a sudden, there's a lot of people and a lot of souls, people thinking, yeah, I'm going to experience a lot of life. But really, they're not. And because they're split so thin, they become zombie-like people, just going through the motions. They're still there. They're your neighbor, whatever they're doing, but they're not living. They're not really thinking. Because if you notice, there's a lot of people out there that just don't think. They're there. They function. And you know them, and they can kind of be friendly or whatever, but it's like a half a person or a half a soul. It doesn't seem They're all there. We all know it. We've all met somebody like that. And
I sometimes wonder if there's more categories that would attribute to an NPC with different species potentially of creation that we have existing here that many of us may not be aware of. You know, there could be synthetic biologicals running around. There could be, you know, different mixes of different genetics that they're playing with running around. There's so many different options to why people couldn't be with the same soul construct. I think that's the difference most people are identifying with an NPC is that they're more just biological organic, but they're not spirit organic. So they're missing the soul part. And there's a lot of talk about how the reptilians didn't have that connection either. And when they die, they cease to exist. And that's why they wanted to blend with us, because that would give them a spark of immortality and it would change their DNA construct. So when you look at all these things from building ladders of species and blending things together, there's a lot of wormholes you can travel through that.
Well, I don't see that. That sounds like it could be an explanation for the existence of NPCs, but it doesn't explain everything because, for
No.
example, if a soul wanted to experience more of life by splitting itself, then that would show that it's a very curious soul, right? That it has a lot of personality. Now, a curious person behaves differently than a person that's just going through the motions, which is what a lot of these NPCs appear to be exhibiting. They're just literally going through the motions. On the other end of the spectrum, you have creatures like bacteria, where that's how they reproduce. They split into two, and then the other half splits into two, and so on and so on.
Yeah.
And instead of becoming weaker, they're actually becoming more powerful because they're all doing the same job. They're all doing one thing, right? So this contrasts with the human, where every human has a slightly different function in society. So, as to what the real explanation is for the existence of the NPC, beats me. But it could be that the video game theory of, as espoused by that guy, I forget what his name is, My Big Toe, that could be in fact correct. That these are literally non-player characters generated by the Matrix itself.
Could be. Could be. You know, I look at the whole fracturing of a soul, and I read somewhere, and I can't remember where it was, but they were explaining this, and what they were saying was that the soul comes from uh, a soul group. So there's a group of consciousness, and you have collective attributes of your soul group. But when a soul comes down, it only brings forth about 30% or less of its soul essence into a soul fragment. So, but then I think about, okay, so if it's working with about interestingly enough, about 33%, which there's that magic number again. When you look at that, then you also look at the concepts that people discuss about soul fracture, to where involuntarily they're getting fractured. So I see that as a potential too for bringing in different types of NPCs, because they're not all quite there, you know what I mean? Or they don't have enough of their own divine spark to actually think more of their own divine consciousness. They're more just into a physical body running through the motions. So I see a lot of potentials of different ways where we could have fractured souls, really fractured, to where they're just using the essence of the energy, but there's not a lot of consciousness traveling with those new forms of creation.
I mean, I've actually seen one of these people in real life. I mean, it was creepy. It was eerie. I used to I live here in Germany, and I was taking a German language course a couple of blocks down the road at the local college. And every day we would go outside to smoke on the sidewalk. And every day at exactly the same time, this guy, he would come walking down the sidewalk, and you could see him. Everybody was familiar with him by now. He would walk robotically, staring directly ahead, not missing a beat, exact footsteps, um, no emotion on his face whatsoever, no extraneous motions. He just like literally walked walked by us every time, never looked at any of us, just looked directly ahead every single time. And I was like, is this person real? This was 2012. And we were all just like stunned every time we seen him, because this was like absolutely unnatural behavior. I've never seen this before.
Yeah, I've seen people do that. I've seen some weird stuff, but you know, we got weird stuff in the city. So yeah, I've seen weird stuff. And especially lately with, you know, we've seen the zombie people and just weird behaviors,
But that's
I've never seen
drugs.
before.
That's different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Seems like we're seeing it on so many different levels. So, you know what I mean? It's like, this is weirdness
But
is getting
I'd be interested in
always.
like those steps that Jason Bashir's mentions, because the minute you mentioned seven, I'm thinking the seven principles of alchemy, which would be mentalism, correspondence, vibration, polarity, rhythm, cause and effect, and gender. Right?
Yeah. Let me see.
Because
Yes.
there's not that many things that come in sevens, right? You got the seven chakras, right?
7 shots. Yeah.
Okay. I think I found it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Yeah, there's 7 steps. And his first one to the process. Okay, so what it says is SAD, this preconditioned programmed mindset that we humans suffer, that we require formulas and step-by-step procedures to achieve results. As one who walked in your shoes, I understand your need, and I will give you such an itinerary. Because thoughts are things. They are the builders of our future existence. All of the thoughts of the collective humanity in the past have constructed our present. But our present existence can be altered by thinking about what we want and acting as if these things had already changed. Here is your formula. Step 1, he labels it as imagination. First, we have to conceive of the idea. The second one is speak and will. So you put the words into existence. I am. So this is what you do. I am. You make statements about I am this reality. I am this now. I'm evoking this part to come into my reality. So that was number 2 is speak and will. Number 3 is know that it is done. That's the faith part. You have faith that you know, you put the order out, giving it to the chef, it'll come out when it's ready. Then gratitude, because you know you've made it, you know you created it, you know it's now connecting to the ethers, and you've done that part about imagining it, speaking, knowing that it's done, knowing that you put it out there, it's going to get worked on, having the gratitude. And then the next one is letting go of the desire by calmly trusting that it will come to pass. That's the letting go part. A lot of people miss that part. You got to let go and let God is what I say. And then next is act as though you are and you will be. So you have to take this as the action part, the verb part, the vibrational part, the vibrational part into the actual matrix. And then the last one says never concentrate on what you do not want to happen. So don't doubt yourself, because doubt will kill more dreams than anything else. So no doubt, you need to never doubt yourself. Never don't concentrate ever on any outcomes that you do not wish to receive. So if a thought comes into your head, change that thought into something that you wish to see. So that's an important part too. You can't cancel out your manifestations with your own doubt. So those are his 7 steps. And I thought that was just really well written and short, sweet, concise, but beautifully done with all the very important elements that many do leave out, which is the part about the letting go of the desire and act as though you are, and then never concentrate on what you do not want to happen. So those are really good parts a lot of people don't put in their protocol for manifesting the things they want in their world.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and well, I've heard it said many times, and it's true beyond a doubt. Thoughts are things. You do have to
Yeah.
exercise mind control. You know, the minute you catch yourself thinking something negative, put on something that you know is going to make you smile. You know, something
Yeah.
positive, because
Yeah.
negative thoughts lead to more negative thoughts, and negative thoughts lead to negative outcomes.
Yeah, negative. And the world is full of negative outcomes.
Tell me about it.
They're everywhere, and we are like walking through a minefield all the time. And he's got in here, this is a good one. The bonds that deceive us are our bounty as well. In a world full of victims, the victor is rare. Most people live their lives in a reactive mindset. That's kind of what we do. Recognizing conditions, conforming to obvious probabilities, and totally experiencing an existence of effects all stimulated by external causes, which is true. I mean, we go around all day listening to the news going, oh my God, World War III's coming. Oh my gosh, batten down the hatches, hide in the bunker. You know,
what he said about the victim versus the victor, that's very true, because nowadays, especially the past 20 years, victimhood is like glorified. It's like the more of a victim you are, the more it's like celebrity status.
You know, it's so funny, and it just brings me to the next quote that I had like highlighted that I wanted to. It's one of the most famous ones we've always known, Albert Einstein. One cannot solve a problem with the same kind of thinking that gave rise to the problem.
Yeah, brilliant.
And then I love this one too. This one is for, if I can't pronounce this, apologies. Nisargadatta Maharaji or Maharaj. It says the search for reality is the most dangerous of all. It is an undertaking, for it destroys the world in which you live. That is such strong truth. The search for reality is the most dangerous of all, because it changes everything you once knew. Once you start looking at all these different things and going, wait a minute, this is just not what I thought. And then it says, look at your world and your life. You are looking at what you think of yourself at the very core of your being. The subconscious creates a physical replica of itself right before our eyes, in people, places, and experiences, which reflect its sense of self. At any moment, in any day, we are casting around us a magnetic image of what we think of ourselves. It is this which creates our reality by magnetically attracting to us experiences which correspond with that pattern.
Yeah.
David Icke.
Yeah, David Icke really knows stuff. I mean, he's getting to be one of those guys that people really start looking at what he's saying, you know, and just to think 20, 30 years ago, they called him nuts. You know,
that man has.
No.
I think he is. Yeah, he's been one of the hardest hit. He's definitely on the list of the top 10 for sure. I mean,
he was censored even before Alex Jones was, I believe.
Absolutely. That's what I mean. He is way up there on that list, because he really did tap into some things that nobody in this world ever had any kind of, there was no collective awareness of this. It was so pockets, you know, kept in little pockets of reality that not many people were ever aware of. Yeah, he broke the lid open on that. But the only thing they can ever do when somebody in society comes forth with a radical new truth that breaks apart the belief systems of which most of us hold, the first thing they do is put the crazy card on them, you know, every single time. So yeah, that poor David, he got that for a long time. But you know, he said now it built the strongest sense of self within his own self, because the attack was so brutal. He really had to learn not to care at all what people perceived or had an opinion of him
But
or his beliefs.
believe it or not, all that repression that he experienced was possibly the best form of validation that he was over the target.
Yes, he knew that. Yeah,
He
I
struck a
think he
nerve
knew
right
that.
there.
Yes, he
'Cause
did.
if it was
But
just
about
like,
a whole,
if it was just
yeah, a whole
blabbering,
bunch of them.
yeah, if it was just blabbering, they wouldn't have cared.
No, no, they would not have. Yeah, he hit
Mhm.
some serious nerves. I have several of his books, and they are all absolutely, they're
Mhm.
just, they're keepers, because it's this information is so groundbreaking, and it was brought out so long ago, and he's been talking about it for so long, and so much of it now is like real world situations on earth. Like mainstream is aware of these things now. So what
Mhm.
a groundbreaking journey. He was one of my favorite ones to start waking me up, and
Mhm.
Jordan Maxwell was another one who
Yes.
really inspired me very
Mhm.
deeply, along with Rudolf Steiner and so many
Mhm.
others. But those were like code breakers. They were like my favorites. Love
Mhm.
David Icke.
Mhm.
Mhm. Yeah.
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 Well, and these guys are getting old now, and they're dying off. Like Jordan Maxwell, he died off like last year, or the year before,
Yeah.
and so I'm hoping some new people step up to the plate and become the showers of the truth somewhere along the
Well, I
line.
think Jason Brashears looks like he's on target to be breaking a lot of stuff down, because he's just going to the old text. You know what I mean? So it's not
Mhm.
even like his opinion. So that's a great place to start, with the remnants of what we do have left that give
Mhm.
us different stories. And his chronology is amazing, the way he can put these events together in cycles. And because that's what humans are built of. We're built literally of patterns of replication and recognition.
Yeah, and
Period.
people, he's wrote other books too besides just that one. It's like it's
Yeah.
not. We got here. I got the books up. So I know you guys said you had some different books of his already too. So let's see
Yeah.
here.
He's
We got
got many
we
books.
got this one, and then there's the Giants on Ancient Earth, and then if you can see that, and then he's got this one. I think you said you had something about the Anunnaki, Return of the Fallen Ones, Nephilim Histories. I think that would be a great one to read too.
Oh, I bet that would be a good one.
Mhm.
Yeah. So just a
Mhm.
FYI, everybody. There's more. There's more out there than just a. Yeah. Anyway, my alarm went on. It's a little bit late. It was for the time change,
Oh
and now
yeah,
the
Oh,
8:30
yeah.
yeah.
to the 9:30. Anyway, that's besides the point.
Can I read
But
these to you? I thought these
yeah,
were
go
some more
ahead.
that were just so my favorites.
Hmm.
I mean, because he took a lot of time to find a lot of these quotes in these old books, and
Hmm.
I just
Oh
think
yeah.
some of these are really priceless. So the
Hmm.
next one says, "Reality is veiled. We are prisoners of an inner world, of a machine that produces a virtual reality. So it ends that the senses, our only means of contact with the external world, keep us separated from it through representations that are not real." Massimo Citro. And then I love the next one too. "All the major thinkers have rightly perceived that bodies are illusions. They are representations of something else. And what we call existence is rather like a dream. But this secret has been hidden, transmitted only to those able to accept the terrible truth that we live in a fiction." Again, Massimo Citro.
Mhm.
It's
Yep. Yep.
amazing. You've been hearing this for so long. It's all just but a dream.
Well, not really, not really. It's kind of more like the movie The Matrix, where there's a
Yeah,
superficial reality, right, and a deeper reality.
yeah.
And that deeper reality
Mhm.
is a lot more crude and a lot more primitive than the surface reality that we're exposed to.
Hmm.
Oh,
And
see,
a
I
lot of
see
these,
it the opposite. I see
Yeah.
this as a crude primal reality, and what I know in my spiritual aspect is way more fun than this,
Mhm.
and
Yeah,
way
well,
more real, way more
yeah.
real. Like this doesn't even compare to how real that feels. It's such a contrast for me, but I've always had that ability to stay connected to that since I was a child. So I never lost that ability to remember that part of myself. And that, oh yeah, no way this can't compare. No, not even, nope,
Mhm.
not even, nope.
And see,
This
that's
can't
the
even
thing.
compare as a cheap imitation.
Hmm.
It,
Well,
it,
that's exactly it. Once you experience something and you remember it and you feel it, telling somebody else like, okay, the sky is blue, but I'm blind. I don't know what blue is.
correct.
You know,
Yeah.
and that I think that's the biggest part of that. We talked about that when people were taking DMT and Gaza Cab. He said, great things about that. And it changed his life
Yeah.
completely there,
Yeah.
and because all of a sudden he had this new reality and changed everything. But I says, well, you're gonna, take that stuff again. He said, maybe, but I just don't need it. I just feel like that. Well, he's better in his words anyway. But it was just the point that I was so impressed with what he said. It was like, wow.
Yeah, it expanded his consciousness, and he saw the world with a different set of eyes.
Yes.
And then he realized that the world that he saw and the world that he was seeing, that they were actually both existing at the same time based upon where he was vibrationally.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And by
Yeah.
shifting his vibrational resonance, it expanded him to see things that he never saw before. And now
Yeah.
he can do it. Now he can do it without the plant medicine.
Well, what I meant before that is by saying that the exterior world looks better. It's almost like the graphical user interface in Windows 95 or Windows 98 or whatever you're using. It's nice, it's beautiful, it's eye appealing, and everything like that. Except that the real reality is the terminal screen. It's the black screen where you just have a prompt, right? And that's generated from. That's where the visible reality of the user interface is generated from. And it's a lot more powerful because you could do a lot more powerful with a simple command in a terminal screen and just hit enter and it executes immediately. Whereas if you use the graphical user interface, it takes forever, right, to do the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
I think the artificial intelligence that runs this construct, I don't think we can fathom its capabilities. So,
Mhm.
and that's not even the organic creator, prime creator. That's not even, no. So yeah, this system is welcome to the machine. Pretty
Yeah,
sure
well,
Pink Floyd had it all figured out. This is not
mhm.
organic, and this is, yeah, we're creating this with our thought through a virtual system and an amazing artificial intelligence
Yeah.
system that
So
is mind blowing.
the craziest thing that there's no experiment that we could devise right now that could prove it one way or the other. Like, is it a reality or is it a simulation? Right?
I don't
Because
know.
it's like the universe. The
Elon says
universe.
they did kind of prove it
It,
was no other way possible in the math. So we might have some, you know, validation that it could potentially, absolutely, maybe be proven now. We are in a simulation.
hmm hmm Well,
Mhm.
because
Well, even
like we can't even figure out. It's an assumption that the Earth revolves around the sun, right? But the
yeah.
calculations work out just as well if you assume that the sun rotates around the Earth, right? And there's literally no way you can prove one or the other.
Yeah,
Yeah.
The
like I
math
said,
would be insane.
the only thing that we have to go on other than what people tell us, and then the
hmm
stuff they put on the television to tell us their vision, there's no other option we have other than what we visibly perceive. But then when you think about the concept that if this is a simulation, that means that's just an artificial projected simulation copy based on something that is real.
hmm
Mhm.
Yeah.
So, there's how do you know? Because how do you know that even any of this is it's just a copy of another system? And if we're looking in our system right now, the sun doesn't look like it's 96 billion miles away. It doesn't look like that to me. So, I have issues with the whole distance thing, because how can we take a camera and zoom on the moon and look at the craters like they're 5 feet away? I can't get that part in my brain. So I know something's not right. And then,
Yeah.
you look at the
things
Hunger
like
Games.
You look at
You
things
know,
like the eclipse that just happened. Okay,
uh-huh.
in any real reality, if you take like a ball in a darkened room and a light source, the shadow is always bigger than the object that's casting it. You could do it right now with a ball.
Mhm.
So why is the path of the eclipse only something like 100 miles wide? If the moon is supposed to be like what, 5,000 kilometers wide? Doesn't make
Yeah.
sense.
And the
The
sun
shadow's not going to
shines
be
like a
smaller.
spotlight.
Yeah,
Right.
Mhm.
the shadow's
And
not
then
going to
the
be
sun's like a
smaller.
spotlight, like a total,
Hmm.
like a spotlight. It doesn't
Hmm.
make sense to me either. It just doesn't. What I see, it doesn't make sense for what I'm told. It just doesn't.
It's
So
all it's all semantics. It's just like if we had no frame of reference, me and you, right, and we started moving away from each other. What test could we do to determine if I'm moving away from you or you're moving away from me? Without some external frame of reference, you would not know.
no. And
Yeah.
and it's so funny too when we think about perception. Two people
Yeah.
can see the same thing and they don't see it the same way. And it's
Hmm.
based on perception. So yeah, our perceptions are based on our internal world. I think about this often because perception with the quantum field seems to be pretty
Hmm.
measurable now in some aspect. So when I think about that and how we're bending reality based on our observation, which is based on our belief systems and our patterns and our pattern recognition that we already have built into our construct and our little individual bubble of reality, it's like, I wonder a lot of times if we're actually even seeing the same things at all. Like we
Hmm.
assume we are, but we may
Hmm.
not be at all. Like I
Hmm.
wonder if we don't see colors the same, if we don't, nothing is the same. Like we don't taste things the same. Like everything could be different. Nobody would have it the same way that you do.
Well,
I wonder
if
that sometimes.
everybody had the same sense of taste, then we would all like the same foods, right?
Right.
And we
Right.
Well,
don't.
well,
Right. That's what I think about. I'm like, people like all these different things. And I wonder if it's because they're perceiving it differently than you are. And I'm like, it would have to be that way. I would think it would
Hmm.
just make sense to me. So,
Hmm.
like, all three of us are here together, but none of us are in the same reality at the same time. It's so weird.
Hmm.
yeah. Dalibor, they're
They
saying they
can't hear
can't
me.
hear. Yeah.
I, I
I
don't
don't know
get
why.
it.
It does sound you're a little quiet, but I don't know. I think it's fine. But
Yeah,
apparently they can't hear you.
that's
You
weird.
might
I'm
have to
gonna
move your
check
mic.
my microphone.
Yeah. I got
Uh,
one from Mary Wins. Mary's always talking about
Hmm.
how we won, we're positive, think positive. And
mhm.
according to this book here, and I got, by being patient,
Is this
content,
better?
hopeful, and aware that our wants are possible, we strongly attract those conditions. By keeping a firm mental picture of what you want to experience, your positive attitude will begin altering the circumstances of your life. Negative expectations produce negative results, and positive expectations produce positive results. So, and there you go. But, she's always be positive. We win, we won.
Yeah.
Love, love, love. Well, that's the thing. If your mental picture is we won, well, we have already won.
Well,
Yeah.
not just
That was really cool.
there is a lot of truth to that because in any given situation, or whether it's a life situation or whatever, there's elements in it that are good and bad, right? If you only focus on the bad ones, then you're going to get more of that, right? But if you're focusing on the positive aspects, then you're going to adjust your behavior towards those positive aspects and work with them, right?
Mhm.
The
Oh,
three
okay.
dots,
Yeah.
you
Oh,
can
maybe
adjust
that's
the
me.
sound.
Edit mic thing.
Uh-huh.
Oh, yeah, maybe.
Could be because I just raised the volume on my microphone.
I can hear you, Dalibor.
Yeah, I can hear both of you.
I got it. I just turned yours up all the way.
I just saw you do that. Yeah.
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah.
There you go. I hope that's better.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It is. It's louder.
Mm-hmm.
It is.
Okay.
It does sound louder.
Yeah.
Okay. We're good then. Great. Kitty says it's much better. I can hear him too, says Pamela G.
So basically, expectation dictates outcome. And one of the ways it does that is through reverse causality. In other words, it's like you're going back, your future self is coming back to the past to change the present. If you've ever looked into that, retrocausality.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how divination works. That's my theory on how divination works. It's your future self telling you to pick this card and not that card. Because your future self already knows what those cards mean. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's trying to send you a message through the vastness of space-time.
Yeah,
like well, viewing.
Yeah.
I see too the soul. It exists in a realm of no time. So there's no time at all. It's the connection I see between the two streams of consciousness is more about it's magnetic and it's fire of the mind. It's fire of the inspiration. It's those channels is where I see that union coming in the strongest.
The fire within, literally the pyramid. That's what the pyramid means.
Yeah.
And I think that the pyramid itself is a symbol for the soul, because that's literally one of the simplest Euclidean shapes that you can have in nature, right? Is the four-sided pyramid. And there's something about that shape that changes space-time and various physical constants, because I've done my own experiments using models of the pyramid, and it changes things like inertia,
Dalibor?
gravity. Yeah.
They show me that. They show me that we are emanating from an etherical, unseen pyramid, and it sits over your auric field. So the pyramid is literally your foundational stone. This is what they show me. It's the weirdest thing ever. So when that little video game, The Sims, came out and they had that little blue thing over their head?
Not familiar with that. No.
It's a game, and these little people, you get to play people in this little imaginary land and build your houses and stuff like that. Well, they all had these little blue sparkly diamonds floating over their head, and my kids were playing that game. I was like, oh my God, that's what we have. That was what was always shown to me, was that I had this etherical pyramid diamond thing over my head that was literally the consciousness of three consciousness. And one was connected to the earth realm. The other one was connected to my chakra system, which was our solar system. And then the other one was the Christ consciousness, Buddha consciousness, and the monad consciousness in the higher dimensions of the higher realms, which are out of time and out of matter. So that was my primary fire pyramid that housed my consciousness into this construct, was built from the Buddha consciousness, the Christ consciousness, and the monad, which is the one, and then the two, and then the three, which makes the fire. And the fire is the spark, and that spark is what can imprint a seed, and a seed is a thought into the new body. So that was what was shown to me. I was like,
and that shape also makes sense, because it's got four sides that symbolizes the four aspects of our reality: three dimensions of space, one of time, and each of the sides has three. Each of the sides has three angles, right? So that's the perfect symbol.
Yeah, and I think too, it's so funny. They were showing me that you can't have time without geometry, because the geometry is what builds the structure for the time to exist. And they were saying that, like, that's why it says, let there be light. It was all with the photon. And I hate to say it, but there's a big part of it was phosphorus. So these phosphorus and the photon, there was the union between the fire and the image maker was born.
Phosphorus.
Yeah, phosphorus. The light bearer.
Yeah, the light bearer, Lucifer.
Yeah, phosphorus, the light bearer for this world. Yes, that's primary. We would have none of this world without phosphorus. We would have no light. There would be no light because it wouldn't light up the nucleus within the photonic structure of the cell. There would be no light. It would be nothing. Game over. Game over. Yeah.
Yeah.
Phosphorus.
I didn't know that. I learned something tonight.
Yeah. They kept showing me geometry and how the geometry produces elemental combinations, just like our DNA. You know, acetylene and glucose, all the A, C, G, T. Those are letters. Those letters are sounds. Those sounds are symbols. And those symbols are telepathic libraries of coded information. So it's really cool. And it all comes from this central pyramid. That's you. Because nothing can come from the immortal part of you down into the mortal part of you, from, you know, into the dimensionals. It goes through this pyramidal structure, and it's your own personal pyramid, like, of power. And it's your own records, it's your own everything, but it's connected to the soul group, and it's also connected to the oversoul, and it's connected to the higher aspects of yourself that you're not even aware of. And that's the only way that I could get to those parts, was to get through the 9th dimension of my astral part of this construct, which is wrapped in the numbers of 0 through 9, the law of 9. So once I could get through the 9, that's when I got into the pyramid of power, and it was broken into 3 consciousness. I was like, this is profound, but it really resonates with me.
When that DNA splits down the middle to replicate itself, it forms what they call messenger RNA, right? And the word angel actually means, it's from Greek, and it's angelos, and it means messenger, right? Yeah. So that's why each one of us actually has an angel inside of us. That the angel would be the DNA, the messenger RNA.
Yes. And then think about it too. What is the most important part of our body to receive its information? It's the spine, the spinal column, and the cerebral spinal fluid. It's its own golden ocean of unique blend of information that gives the whole entire body its messages. So that's the messenger of God within you, which the DNA helix builds the central nervous system for our spinal cord. It's the most important part of the body. It's a beautiful dance when you see it go from spirit to matter, spirit to matter, spirit to matter. But what I see is it has to go through this primal intelligent force.
And it's the same duality as particle wave. That's why I'm saying that even the photon is alive, because it depends on if who's observing it and under what conditions it's being observed, whether it behaves like a particle or a wave. So that's the whole matter-spirit duality thing.
Yes. And it's so funny because the particle is the part that's manifested that I see light energy. I see light energy. Particle, I see light energy. So the particle makes it to where you can snap in on that particle and get an image from it. The wave, no way, you can't touch that sucker. It's still in an infinite possible state of potential, but it hasn't snapped into anything at that moment.
Exactly.
So that's what I always tell you guys. I see circles and square. I see circles and waves, circles and waves, circles and waves. That's what I'm seeing. Particle and wave collapsing in on each other, creating and manifesting reality. Particles and waves crashing into each other with 2 different lines of thought, creating a new bubble. It's really cool what I see. It's really cool. Kind of like the sperm and the egg too. Right when the sperm hits the egg and it locks in, it lights up a flash of light.
Yeah.
That's what they show me. And then that's when they also say phosphorus, let there be light.
And phosphorus is one of the key elements that we can't survive without. Just like carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, oxygen, sulfur, and phosphorus.
Foundational building
Yeah.
blocks of our carbon-based body. Yes, they're
And
mandatory.
that's what we share in common with all so-called living things. And all living things, just like we do, has a DNA. And it's interesting that
Yes.
every cell in your body has the same DNA with one exception, and that's the red blood cells. They don't have any
Yes.
DNA.
And the life is in the blood.
Yes.
See, it's
and the life is in the blood.
invisible. It's invisible. It's not even in the material. It produces material effects, but you can't even get it in this. It's etherical power. It is beyond our visible spectrum, and we will not be able to see it in the third dimensional eyeball.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
15.
The things.
Yeah, 15. That adds up to 6, right?
Yes. Yes.
666.
Yes.
Oh yeah. Yeah. How about that?
I've been pondering this stuff for a while, and I see it in images, and so it's really hard to put into language for me sometimes because I don't know what particle or what I'm seeing. You know what I mean? So I have to just watch it over and over and get more information, and that's how I came to, oh my God, I think what I'm seeing is phosphorus and then I would hear "Let there be light," and I'm like, well, that's phosphorus, right? And then they would show me. Phosphorus is like one of the main activators for all of the carbon-based material realm. And, it's like when you look at this, it's confirmation that we're in something that's not real. We're in the land of the trickster, the great deception, the deceiver. They says we were cast down. Satan was cast down. And then the Lord Jesus said, this is Satan's world. This is not my Father's kingdom. That could be right.
Yeah, cast down as in fallen, just like with the fallen angels.
Yes, which means that we were infected with different things that changed what we were as an expression manifesting in the material realms. And it was massive, massive downgrade, Dalibor. Wow, we got broken.
Yeah, they shortened our lifespans. They decreased our intelligence. They decreased our physical strength. They cut down on our senses. They cut down on our sentience. Yeah, big time.
Yes.
Yeah, we are the fallen angels. We are fallen because, like I always tell people, if you had the same proportional strength as a rabbit, you could jump on top of your house right now.
Right. You know what they say too? They say there's lots of stories in old mythology that speaks about when the angels die, they become mortal. So that would be confirmation of. Is that in the book?
Yes, when the angel dies, they become mortal humans. I'm trying to find it in here, but I know
thought I saw it in there too. Yeah, I was like, and I've seen that in other things where they talked about when angels fall, the punishment for that fall was that they had to experience mortality. They had to experience death. Yeah.
Trying to find it when I find it.
It's so funny because if you see, if a beautiful angel created the fall, and the fall was created from one thing, which was pride. Pride. The number one reason that caused the fall was pride. I will ascend above you, God. I will, it's me, and look at me, look how pretty I am. And then he got cast out. And then with that took 1/3 of his angels. And then you also hear too in the old stories about the mighty fight with the dragon, that the mighty dragon swooped its tail and captured 1/3 of the stars in heaven and drug them down with it. So were we captured or did we fall?
So it could be the ego. It could be the ego that he's referring to, as opposed to the soul or as opposed to the spirit.
Dalibor, I think you're absolutely right. I think he birthed the first ego in all of creation. I think you're right. I think you're absolutely right. I think that's what it means. I really do.
Yeah.
I think you're spot on with that.
Because,
I really do.
Because the spirit doesn't need, ego gratifications, egoic gratification. It doesn't.
Right. Right.
Mhm.
Exactly.
Really? Does like a little kid, a happy little kid, does he need egoic gratification? No, not really. Does he need status? No, none.
No, none of it. Yep. Nope. Nope. But I think ego is part of the separation. And I think a healthy ego, if you're going into a separation and taking on a body, any kind of
Mhm.
body, on any kind of dimensional existence, some of them live longer, some of them live shorter, depends on how much they got you tweaked,
Mhm.
But in any one of those bodies, you would have to have some type of self-preservation system built into the physical being. Or the body, you wouldn't eat, you wouldn't do any of the things that you needed, you wouldn't care for the body, and it would just break down and die. So I think there has got to be um, where we have inhabited bodies that had a very balanced, healthy ego, where
Yeah,
it would
yeah,
operate if you were in danger, or it would operate if there was something wrong with the physical body. You'd become very self-aware about, oh my God, it's all about me right now.
yeah.
I think
Or
it was more
oh my
balanced.
god, oh my god, I have to get a drink right now. Or oh my god, I have to eat. Stuff like that.
Right, right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's understandable. But even animals have that. Even trees have that, right?
yeah,
Okay, well, I
yeah.
did some thinking and I paged through here. I found it. And let's see, it says, okay, I'll read the whole paragraph because I got
Right on.
that in mind. Things are rarely as they appear because we believe that we are alive, though some distant inner voice whispers secrets. It is the dead who gather to mourn the living. A funeral attracts a congregation of the lost, or an ancient doctrine. When angels die, they become mortal, the mortal souls. The meaning of life evades the living because nothing is made alive until it dies. A terrible misunderstanding, a misconception manufactured to deceive. We are carcasses of creativity, ever compelled to call upon the one that does not answer, at least not yet.
Kind of
Yeah.
reminds me of how they make rechargeable batteries. When they make those, when they're brand new, they're not charged.
Hmm.
Yep. You got
Right?
it. You got it. Just a
They're
new sleeve. You
manufactured
just got
empty.
to add that spark and give it its life, and then it
Yep.
stores that life for a
Hmm.
certain amount of time, and then
Yep.
eventually the battery drains
Goes
and it
down.
ceases. Yes, and it ceases to generate because it has no
Hmm.
more spark left.
Spark.
Yeah,
Yep.
the light,
Well,
phosphorus.
Hmm.
but here's a good one for you. Did you know that if you have a dead battery and you try to charge it, if you hook a dead battery with a good battery, the charger will charge the bad battery back up, but it won't charge a bad battery if you just hooked a charger to it.
Wow, because it's somehow
Interesting.
exchanging, like, from the good battery. It's recoding itself. That's profound, Robert. Wow, I did not know that.
Yeah. So
Wow,
if
that's
you
interesting.
especially these rechargeable batteries, the ones, and
Yeah.
if you put it in the charger and it lights up and it says won't charge, but we're like a battery, and when you die,
Yeah.
they're talking about how, well, remember there was a thing where people were getting blood from younger people and extending their lives. That's the
Hmm.
jump
Yeah.
start. that's
And like
that's
I
the
said, the
concept.
red blood cells are the only cells in the body that don't have a DNA. That's why
Mhm.
you can get a blood transfusion.
Well, think about it. Okay, guys, my aunt and my uncle were the first two um stem cell recipients, were two siblings were able to do a stem cell replacement, and
Hmm.
my uncle's blood type changed, and his eye color
Hmm.
changed, and
Wow.
everything after he received my aunt's stem cells. And they said that that would take away 10 years of her life to give him her life force in the potency of those stem cells.
Hmm.
So it was a really unique exchange to watch the power and the potency of that exchange. And I do think it affected both of them very, very deeply within their systems. Extremely powerful, very powerful, the blood, very powerful.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yes. But see, that's the thing. That's what I'm saying is
But it saved his life, and he's still alive because of that. Yeah, he's still living. Yeah.
You know, that's what I mean. It's just like, why aren't we thinking more on that level than, you know, some of these things where people are, oh, just going for the radiation, that'll fix you, you know, this and that, and oh, they're dying, well, give them some medicine, you know.
Well, that's because it's all the model of medicine has gone away from like altruism and helping people to just a for-profit system. If you've noticed that the one word they never use in any medical paper is cure. Never. They'll never use the word cure. It's always just treatment. That's all they know.
I saw a patent that said it's illegal to cure the sea.
Yeah, it's illegal to cure anything.
Yeah,
pretty much. It's
I think I literally
only.
Yeah.
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 So they can continue. So they can continue to like screw you for money. That's basically all it is.
Yeah.
Because basically, in the past, most medical professionals were paid either privately, like you know, by patients, or they worked for charities. As a matter of fact, in Great Britain, the NHS actually started out as a charity.
Yes.
Few people know this, but it was a charity. But nowadays, it's like a for-profit money-making system.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah, I think I have hope for that. I think a lot of people are starting to think, man, we got to start doing some more stuff for our own self because things aren't going so well there.
No.
And I'm hoping it's going to open up doors for more alternative and natural approaches.
The problem is that, well, especially like if you look at it from the United States perspective, you have two ways of looking at things, two approaches, the Democratic one and the Republican one. One is having the government take control over our lives. The other one is having corporations take control over our lives. Both options are bad. And they never present you with a third option or a combination.
You know what, though? I think in this time, we are that third option. Because we literally, our consciousness is about that side or this side. I don't care what side it is. It's still about division. And we understand the concept that to benefit the whole, we have to unify on some level. So, but I think that there's so much hatred and you know, the mindset and the perception is so focused on what they've been programmed to believe. I think a lot of that darkness has just got to purge itself out, and it's going to be brutal. But I think once we get through a lot of that upheaval to break and collapse things down, so that way there's opportunities for regrowth and to rebuild these things, I think that's when the power of all the work of what we've done is really going to manifest on this world in a really big way. And I really do think it is going to be waves so big that they won't have any chance to stop, and more people are going to get on it, and more people are going to realize that these are their natural gifts and talents, and they're finally going to be able to find them.
I agree, and I would say that the downfall of the United States has been its ego, and its ego in the form of imperialism, and imperialism manifesting itself through interventionist war and foreign policy. That's ego on a national level. If you guys could get rid of that on a national level, then you would be just like any other prosperous country. You know, like let's say Liechtenstein. That's like the richest country on earth. Does anybody know about the existence of Liechtenstein? No, because they don't go around sticking their noses in anybody's business. They don't go around messing with people. They don't go around spying on people. No, they don't care. They're just living their lives in a very prosperous way, I might add.
Yeah.
Or Switzerland, right?
Yeah. Well, and the United States is like that. I mean, I've talked to a lot of people. Oh, what do you think's going to go on? They'll never invade us. Get out of here. Nothing will ever happen. We'll never get bombed or anything from another country. That'll never happen. And and everybody says that. And then if they do say something like, if they do, I'm ready. I believe in God. He's going to take me away. He'll save me. I'll be raptured before that happens. And I'm like, oh my gosh. It's like I'm dealing with people who just can't have the concept of being a failure here. We can do whatever we want. Nothing's ever going to happen to us. And I'm like, one of these days it's going to come bite us in the butt. And I'll be the end.
The way to change everything in a nation is to change its culture. And we have now more immigrants in the United States almost than we have, United States citizens in certain areas. So in certain areas, there's more of them than there are of us. So this is going to affect our nation in a very, very big way and in a real way, because you can't smash all these different cultures together and not have an effect.
Yeah.
Well, it's not the fact that there's citizens versus non-citizens. The bigger problem that everybody overlooks is the fact that it's causing localized overpopulation. It's causing the same problems as localized overpopulation. That means skyrocketing real estate prices, skyrocketing rents, and decreasing wages. That's the other issue. It's decreasing wages and increasing the prices of everything else.
Everything else.
Because the fact that they're citizens or non-citizens is irrelevant.
Do you want to know how much they said that we already have spent on the whole in flood to the American right now? How much we spent just so far?
No idea.
$3 trillion.
Yeah. That's too much.
Wow. Yeah. Well,
that's more than the whole war of Ukraine.
Yeah. That's the thing. That's the thing. That the money spending is out of control, and it's out of the control of the people. In my opinion, I don't live in the United States, so it's just my opinion. I think anything requiring the expenditure of that amount of money should require a referendum.
I do too.
All the citizens.
We're not having any
because I'll bet you any money that if that Ukraine money came up to a popular vote in a referendum, they wouldn't agree to that, because any money sent over there is just going to get wasted, and it's just prolonging the agony of the Ukrainians and the Russians.
Yeah. Well, Putin said that on an interview with Tucker Carlson. Hey, if you guys would quit funding them, it'd be over in 2 weeks.
Sure.
Yeah, you know what makes me so sad? We were talking about those special meetings, back in the early 1913-ish and forward. When we talk about, invasions, what if it already happened to the United States a long time ago because we lost everything that we had through the signing of magic papers and creating Federal Reserve and different things? So what if it's already happened and now we're just seeing the effect of it? And what if this group has just done this over and over? They pick a nation, they build it up, and then they tear it down. They build it up, then they tear it down. But what if it has nothing to do with the people?
Yeah.
It's never been about the people. And when will people understand this? This is not about us. This is about division that's been put on us, but it's not even about us, and it's not even something that many of us would ever choose. There's no representation right now for the will of what any of us want.
No. And same goes true for where I live here in the EU. Same deal.
Yeah.
The people that are actually doing the things, doing the jobs, doing the work, they're not asked. Their opinion doesn't matter.
Right. I know. That's the same thing here. They're kicking our kids out of school and they're using them as shelters. And there's no education for your children. That's insanity. For real. I know, like I said, a $3 billion bill, a $3 trillion bill now over the past 6 years or so, because this has been going on for a long time.
Well, not just that, but it's misappropriation of money on a mass scale, going down to the local level. Back when I lived in the United States, I was paying $4,500 property taxes, right? And if you really look into those property taxes, what do most of those funds go for? Education, right? And my city had one high school and like 4 grammar schools, and that costs like 2/3 of the whole city budget. And I'm like, why? And when you look into it, they're buying these kids like brand new computers and everything. Like, first of all, when I went to school, we had no computers, right? And did you need computers to learn what you learned in high school? No.
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 No, you don't need any technology. You could do that all with books, right?
Well, it's so funny now. I mean, most of the kids here, it's like many of them can't read or write now, and they're passing them through high school, and they literally can't read or write, but they've never spoken English in their life. You know, it's ridiculous what we're seeing. So there's going to be a lot, I think, that's changing, because now the employers, they can't trust, even if they have a college education. They don't have any idea if they have any skills or legitimacy because of the way things are running right now. So there's a lot of questions coming up. And I mean, it's incredible. Like some of the major colleges too, they're removing the dean's list because it's stressing the students out too much. So, you know, you don't want to have them not make the dean's list and have a meltdown. So they're going to remove the whole process so they don't hurt people's feelings. That's not the real world. You're going to have to compete in the real world if you want a good job. And if you want to, you know, you're going to have to compete for these things, and you're going to get your feelings hurt. And that's par for the course. So for them to protect these kids from the reality of life, I just don't understand it. I just don't understand the logic.
No, high school should be preparing those kids for real life, not shielding them from it. And they should be teaching them practical things, not the kind of bullshit that I learned, you know, about the planets or whatever. Yes, that's it. That's all interesting. It's all fine and dandy, but you don't need to know about the planets to live life in the 21st or 20th century. No, you don't. You need to know things like how to balance a checkbook, right? At least in my day.
They don't teach that at all anymore.
How to fill, things like that, or how to cook a meal. No, they don't teach anything that you need in real life, in the real world.
Nope.
No. And these kids are going to grow up to be DoorDash kids, you know, and they're going to grow up to have mental problems or be on some kind of aid because they don't know how to function in society anymore.
Yeah, because all the kids born these days, almost all of them have ADHD, PTSD, ADD, LGBT,
and autoimmune, and the big
all
C.
Of that. Yes. Yeah.
Lots of that too. Really fast moving stuff now too, on a big scale. Yeah.
It's I mean, you know, we grew up in a world where, you know, you just learn because you read that book. And, you know, the thing is what's more expensive, getting a kid a computer or buying a book that you can pass on to the next and the next and the next for umpteen years. So, you know.
Yeah, because the book's not going to get out of date as quickly as that computer's going to get out of date.
That's right, for real. Right. That's why I've been collecting like old algebra books and old books from the 17 and 1800s, the old ones, for the old ways they used to teach, and the old grammar and that old stuff. And I got economics and different stuff like that they don't do a lot of that teaching anymore. So I think these are important. And it's so funny. I've always taught my kids these things. And when like reading, both of my kids were reading at a 3rd grade level in kindergarten. By the time they got to 3rd grade, they were reading at college level. I mean, so I've always been an interactive teacher for my children, and I think a lot more people are going to have to go to that. And I also let them do the public school thing. But even my last child, her freshman year, she started begging to just full home school, and I was like, no, you need the social. And she just would not stop. So finally, we agreed to let her do it. And she actually graduated high school a year early. And she was just like, just boom, and done with it. She was like, she loved it. It was a great experience for her. So, we kind of started it when they were little. And she actually insisted on it as she got older. And she's like, I'm not having it. I'd do better on my own and learning what we learn and what we're being taught, because it makes more sense and it's applicable in the real world. And
Mm-hmm.
it shows in her performance as an employee and what she does in her life, that she has more skill and more problem solving, and she's faster and quicker, and she knows how to communicate. She knows how to respond appropriately to problems and situations. These other ones, they can't hold a candle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah, what Lucky Stone said before, that's absolutely true. Yeah, it's more the parents' job. Whereas, when you send your kids to a public educational institution, that's government propaganda. That's all of it.
Yep.
But on the other hand, it does have its usefulness, because take my situation, because I came to the United States as an immigrant. I did not
Yeah.
speak English. Neither did my
Yeah.
parents, right? So
Yeah.
my parents couldn't help me out with any of my homework whatsoever,
Right.
because it was all in English, right? Even though they
Yeah.
both had college degrees, they couldn't help me with anything.
Right.
So not even with algebra, because the terminology used is completely different.
Right. They didn't
So
understand what they were wanting you to solve because they couldn't read the. Yeah, I get it. I totally get it. My sister moved to Italy after her whole life, and she was there for 14 years, and she had to learn the language and the whole thing, and then she gave birth to 2 children and had kidney failure in the process, and was trying to communicate with doctors, and there's a lot to it. So yeah, it's a huge thing to have a language barrier. And
Yeah.
my sister is now a teacher, and she works with the English second speaking children because she understands the challenges. She's experienced it firsthand, and she speaks multiple languages. So she's been very beneficial to help these children to learn how to read and learn how to do the basic things that they need to function in this society. And she's doing really well. And they think it's because of that experience of being on that, having to experience it firsthand. Yeah.
And speaking of foreign language, that's one thing that the U.S. is way behind, internationally speaking, because even public schools here in Europe, even the worst ones, will give you will graduate a student that can speak 2 to 3 foreign languages. And at least in my country, in Czech Republic, by law, you have to study 2 foreign languages, and one of them has to be English, whether your primary foreign language or secondary foreign language. So
yeah,
you
well,
can
when
take,
I
like,
was
English
I
and
went to
German.
college, we had to learn a second language too. But we didn't have to do like 4 years of it. We had to do 2 years of it, and you had to be able to basically communicate basically. So yeah, we had that, but I see a lot of it now. It's not even, I don't think, required anymore.
Well, over here we go a step further. We have 2 foreign languages, not
That's
one
awesome.
foreign language. Yeah, 2
Yeah.
foreign languages.
Yeah.
Because don't forget, you have a lot of countries here in Europe where you have 4 languages. Like Switzerland has German, French, Italian, and Swiss, right? Or Luxembourg has 3 foreign languages, right? And all those people have to be fluent in all those languages.
Absolutely. Well, it's so funny. My niece and nephew's father, he speaks 4 languages. He speaks Romanian, he speaks Indian, he speaks Italian, he speaks 3 different dialects of Italian, and then of course he can do Spanish. So and French. He knows French too. So those are the ones that he knows. And then their youngest son right now, he's learning Mandarin. So they're bringing that into the family. But it's very interesting. Those are kids. Most of them were born in Europe, Dalibor. So they all had multiple languages, and it was just normal. Very, very normal. And I just think that my sister, she, is so hard because they didn't speak early. Because they were learning multiple languages. And, my sister would get upset about it. She's like, they aren't talking like your kids. I'm like, because they're brainiacs. They're learning 4 languages. Would you give them a break? And, she'd be like, you're right. And now it's like they know multiple languages. And now anywhere they go, they pick up new languages immediately if they're immersed for more than 3 weeks. They can start communicating. Like right now, they picked up Romanian like real fast. It's really profound to watch. I love watching that kind of education happening with young children. It really does form the brain differently, and I think it's an advantage.
It is a mind expanding thing. Yeah, I speak my primary language would be Czech, then English, German, and I took Spanish, 4 years of Spanish in high school.
Yeah, right on. Right on. Yeah.
Wow.
You know, it was the neatest thing I ever, my niece, when she was a little girl, she had two nonas, and they went to Italy before they moved to Italy. She was the firstborn, and she was born in America. The other two boys were born in Italy. We have a running standing joke. If you want you want a boy in my family, you got to go make it in Italy. So it was funny. So, but Sabrina, she was so she was so immersed in multiple languages when she was a little child, and they had two old nonas, and they were both in their late 80s and early 90s, and one was from southern Italy and one was from northern Italy. Well, you know, those languages are nothing the same. Sicilian and Italian are not the same language. And it was so funny because she, as a little 3-year-old child, the nonas would be trying to communicate, and she would stand up as a 3-year-old. She goes, "No, Nona," and she'd explain it in her language, and then she'd go, "No, Nona," and she'd explain the other one in her language. And we started watching her do this when she was 3. We were like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
She just knew. She just knew. Yeah. It's amazing.
They're amazing. Yeah. Well, let's wrap it up for tonight. This has been a great show. Everybody's going to be heading over to Max Vision Remote View class really soon. Link is right here in the chat. If you want to go over there and do a little remote view, use your mind like we've been talking about tonight.
Yeah.
Frequency, we're a battery. Go out there and use that battery to get a frequency.
Yeah.
Anyway.
It's all in the mind. It's literally all in the mind.
What we think about, we bring about.
Hey.
But anyway, yeah, it's all great. And remember, on Tuesday we'll have back to Native American Myths and Legends. Join me and David Null then, and not this weekend, but next weekend I'll be on Nina's new channel. But we got a great show there, so check us out there. And with that, everybody, thank you, Trina. Thank you, Dalibor. It's been a great show. I learned so much hanging out with you guys.
I love Dalibor and I. It's kind of like Wayne and I, because we come from different perspectives, but our concepts are so in resonance and so similar. It's amazing. It's so much fun. I love it. So thank you guys for the intellect, and I love it. Thank you.
That's right. Everybody, go out and check this book out. Like I said, it's real. You ever read it in a day? 70, 79, 81 pages. So go check that out. It's really fun.
I gotta tell you guys this too. It's really amazing. I ordered 2 more of those today. I had one of my daughter's friends was actually struggling with an addiction, and she was looking for answers, and I gave her that book. And it really, really shifted her consciousness. I mean, in a big way. And she's been clean now for almost 2 months. So this is a really profound tool for some of the Gen Z kids that are lost and looking for some new, because they, for whatever reason, they've already been exposed to a lot of these concepts. Yeah. They just don't know how to make it real in their life. And like I said, he broke down a pretty good, quick little list. And this is short and sweet, which you can keep a kid's attention if it's short and sweet. You hand them a book 3 inches thick. No way. They're not going to do it. You know what I mean? So this is a great tool if you know kids that are struggling, that need some guidance. I think this is it's going to be one of my go-tos to help people who are trying to find a new way to shift their consciousness and break their patterns to get into a different position in their life.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. I totally agree. I got this book, and I promised I'm going to give it to somebody to pass along some of that. I'm going to order me another one, but who knows? We can change some people's ideas, minds, maybe wake a few people up. But with all that, remember, everybody, go out there and be that frequency you want to receive, everyone. We love you all. Peace, everybody.